Jacob Zuma's Umkhonto weSizwe Party has rejected the G20 leaders' declaration. In a lengthy statement released on their social media platforms, the party said the document reflects a continuation of global imbalances and stated, "The Umkhonto weSizwe Party registers its unequivocal rejection of the recently adopted G20 leaders' declaration released in Johannesburg. Far from being a triumph for the African continent, this document represents a continuation of global power imbalances, neo-colonial economic domination, and the systematic erosion of African sovereignty, on thinly veiled under words like multilateralism, solidarity, and Ubuntu." The MK Party condemns the declaration as a text crafted not for the liberation of Africa, but for the enrichment of global hegemonies whose primary interest is controlling African minerals, shaping African fiscal policy, dictating energy transitions, and undermining our continent's sovereign right to determine its own development path. G20's appropriation of Ubuntu is philosophical theft. The declaration opens by invoking Ubuntu and global interconnectedness, a clinical attempt to clothe an imperial agenda with African moral language. Ubuntu cannot coexist with a global financial architecture that continues to exploit African nations, enforce debt dependency, and dictate national policies through international financial institutions, IFIs. To invoke Ubuntu while sustaining structures that undermine African agency is intellectual dishonesty of the highest order. The document is stacked with promises, yet is empty of justice. The G20 claims to be responding to wars, geopolitical instability, and humanitarian crisis, yet it fails to take responsibility for the destabilizing role played by many G20 powers in creating the very conflicts, including military interventions, resource extraction, and arms profiteering. Notably, the declaration condemns all attacks on civilians and reaffirms the UN Charter's principles, but remains silent on occupation, apartheid practices, and long-standing neo-imperial violence. It is riddled with debt solutions that entrench dependency. The G20's proposals on debt sustainability are nothing more than recycling of old strategies that keep African economies subservient. For example, the call to strengthen the implementation of common framework ignores African critics that the mechanism places debtor nations at the mercy of creditor cartels. The push for greater debt transparency from debtor countries conveniently ignores the opacity and predatory practices of private creditors from G20 states. The insistence on IMF World Bank leadership in debt analysis and restructuring keeps African states trapped under Bretton Woods tutelage, a major infringement on sovereignty. These are not solutions, they are chains. The proposed energy transition proposals violate sovereignty. The declaration's so-called just energy transition commitments are riddled with the following contradictions and threats to the national autonomy. It pushes Africa to triple renewable capacity global and adopt externally engineered transition models while offering no binding commitments for financial redress or technology transfer. It promotes low-cost and blended finance mechanisms historically used to trap economies in private sector-driven arrangements. Its just transition narrative ignores Africa's right to industrialize using its own energy resources at its own pace. These frameworks seek to control Africa's development in the name of sustainability, while G20 nations themselves continue to expand fossil fuel production. There are new scramble for Africa when it comes to critical minerals. The declaration openly acknowledges that critical minerals are central to the global technological economy and names African countries as key suppliers. Yet it produces a G20 critical minerals framework that is voluntary and non-binding for G20 states, but becomes a de facto governance instrument for Africa's mineral policies. It promotes diversification of mineral processing locations and value chains, signaling the intent of G20 nations to retain control over the mineral beneficiation outside African borders. This is the new frontier of resource colonialism disguised as cooperation. The IMF and the World Bank are nothing more than guardians of global inequality. The G20 reaffirms its commitment to quota-based, adequately resourced IMF at the center of the global financial system. This reinforces a system where African nations hold minimal voting power. Conditional leading undermines domestic policy autonomy. Sovereign decisions become subject to external expert assessments. The so-called creation of a 25th chair for sub-Saharan Africa is nothing but cosmetic tokenism. Representation without power is not reform. The declaration undermines African development by promoting external dependency. Key sections promote open and non-discriminatory trade policies in agriculture, which historically favor G20 agricultural exporters, international tax conventions that risk stripping African nations of their right to design taxation regimes, digital governance frameworks that push global technology rules on Africa without negotiating power. These initiatives collectively erode the continent's capacity to chart independent development paths. Despite flowery language about supporting Africa and partnerships, the declaration treats Africa as a mere supplier of minerals, a recipient of debt-linked financing, a site for donor-driven development models, and a passive partner in global governance. The promotion of instruments like the Compact with Africa and the Africa Engagement Framework are simply attempts to lock the continent into externally driven, investor friendly frameworks rather than African centered development strategies. The Umkhonto we Sizwe Party asserts that Africa does not need a G20 that claims to speak on its behalf, while imposing frameworks that undermine sovereignty. What Africa needs is economic liberation from external control, genuine mineral beneficiation on African soil, independent monetary and fiscal policy, a people-driven energy transition rooted in developmental needs, a continental financial architecture independent of Bretton Woods, protection of land, agriculture, and food systems from global market capture. When the Umkhonto we Sizwe Party is in power, we commit to building a sovereign, self-determined South Africa free from dictates of global elites. We will reject IMF World Bank conditionalities and promote African-centered financial mechanisms, establish state-led beneficiation and industrialization for minerals, reclaim energy sovereignty, using South Africa's full resource base, advance trade and development partnerships rooted in reciprocity, not subservience, champion African institutions that respects national sovereignty. The MK Party reaffirms that South Africa must not be a junior partner in global forums, but a leader in the struggle against global inequality, resource exploitation, and neo-colonialism. The G20 Leaders Declaration is not a victory for Africa, it is a blueprint for the continued global domination of the South. Wrapped in diplomatic language, the MK Party stands firmly against these attempts to compromise our sovereignty and remains committed to a future where South Africa and Africa determine their destiny without interference. The G20 Leaders Declaration has been made available for the public. The 30-page document details the deliberations from the Leaders Summit and it reads as follows. We leaders of the G20 who gathered in Johannesburg, South Africa for this historic first summit on the African continent under the South African G20 presidency on 22 and 23 November 2025, addressed major global challenges and discussed ways to promote solidarity, equality, and sustainability as key pillars of inclusive growth. For the first time, G20 leaders have convened in Africa. In the spirit of Ubuntu, we recognize that individual nations cannot thrive in isolation. The African philosophy of Ubuntu, often translated as I am because we are, emphasizes the interconnectedness of individuals within a broader communal, societal, economic, and environmental context. We understand our interconnectedness as a global community of nations and reaffirms our commitment to ensure that no one is left behind through multilateral cooperation, macro-policy coordination, global partnerships for sustainable development and solidarity. We meet against the backdrop of rising geopolitical and geo-economic competition and instability, heightened conflicts and wars, deepening inequality, increasing global economic uncertainty, and fragmentation. In the face of this challenging political and socio-economic environment, we underscore our belief in multilateral cooperation to collectively address shared challenges. We note with distress the immense human suffering and the adverse impact of wars and conflicts around the world. We affirm our unwavering commitment to act in accordance with international law, including international humanitarian law and the Charter of the United Nations and its principle of peaceful settlement of disputes. And in this regard, we condemn all attacks against civilians and infrastructure. We embrace the African Union as full member of the G20 in its second year in the group as we are gathered for the first time in African soil. Africa's voice should continue to be amplified in the G20 and all other international fora. We highlight the importance of G20's outreach with all UN member states and permanent observers and relevant international and regional organizations. In this regard, we commend South Africa's G20 presidency for convening the G20 foreign ministers meeting in New York on the margins of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2025. We applaud the decisions to convene the G20 Social Summit in Johannesburg, an initiative that provided non-government stakeholders a unique opportunity to voice their views on fundamental issues of the international agenda. We welcome the approach undertaken by South African G20 presidency to continue to integrate the work of the engagement groups. We acknowledge the strengthening partnerships and expanding dialogue with a wide range of actors is important to collectively shape the G20's approach to issues requiring international cooperation. We reiterate our commitment to the G20 as the premier forum for international economic cooperation and its continued operation in the spirit of multilateralism on the basis of consensus, with all members participating on an equal footing in all events, including summits, in accordance with international obligations. We thank South Africa for its leadership this year. We commit to working together under the United States presidency in 2026 and meeting again in the UK in 2027 and in the Republic of Korea in the 2028. We welcome Saudi Arabia's ambition to advance its turn for hosting the G20 presidency in the next cycle. What's your take on this one, people? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more news.